Today is Bitcoin day, that being Thursday, as we do look at January returns for Bitcoin, similar to what we did for Ethereum yesterday, which funnily enough is kind of, following that path as of right now. Also, we'll be looking at the short term for Bitcoin as well, just relevant to, I guess, the end of 2023 as things do start to shape up. And other than that, I want to welcome you back to the Krown Crypto channel. In this particular video, I do want to, before we get too deep into it, still remind myself to talk about the actual sale going on crowntrading.net. There is a link to it in the description below. If you're interested in any one of the programs or products, then you can get yourself a nice little discount there, even including the Krown Quant automation, which allows you to not just set up and automate back testing, but also just automate your strategies as well, if you so desire. If that happens to interest you, if you happen to give a fuck, basically. And also, before we get into it, I also do want to let you know that Meta Signal is still firing off signals and setups over here freely in their Discord, although not all of them, just a few here and there, as I do need to keep something under wraps, obviously. And then also, I do want to let you know that regarding Meta Signals, that they are going to be pausing their NFT mint relatively soon after the 800th, why can't I say that? 800th? I don't know. After 800 of their damn NFTs are minted, which I think there's just like a little bit less or a little bit more than 40 to go, which does grant you lifetime access to their setups and all of the, subsequent endeavors that they go on. But yeah, it looks like another one of their Aave setups has fired off, or is already not just fired off, but I think this one was given in their Discord, but has already hit target 1, 2, and 3. And same thing with Link over here, as well as it does head up nice and well above, what even was this? $16.5, so not bad right there. What else do I want to tell you about Meta Signals? Yeah, I'm an investor, so I'm biased, but I do think it is pretty good, and looking forwards to their next sort of portion of their roadmap being completed, which is why they're going to be pausing their NFT mint, and they're going to be developing short signals is going to be the idea, so that you can have both short-term and long-term long signals, and then also short-term short signals, and then they'll work on probably long-term ones as well, but probably not, just because this market just generally goes up. So, all right, fair enough. There we go. Let's get into the content of the day. This is going to be for Bitcoin. My fucking camera thing is, well, whatever. It doesn't matter. I'm just raging today, man. I'll tell you why I'm raging. I'm raging because my fucking microphone was off when I started to record this video at first, and I got like 10 minutes into this video and then realized it. Absolute monstrosity. Anyways, okay, cool. All right, so let's get into it. First things first, Bitcoin on the monthly for January. What have the returns looked like? I'll do the same thing as what we did yesterday for Ethereum. And out of 13 previous Januaries, by the way, there's actually 14, but the first of all time, which was back on over here in 2010, we just don't have data for it. Like, it appears that it was a pretty big month, but in terms of like, what did it open at? What did it close at? Look at the top left-hand corner. TradingView doesn't spit it out, so I didn't include it. But technically speaking, the results are going to be better than what I'm going to show over here on the nice little spreadsheet. And out of 13, 7 did close positively. Technically, it would be 14. 8 of them closed positively. So, probably close to like a 60% probability to close positively. Now, I would say that even one of the losses was kind of questionable as well. Like, should I even count it? Because number 7 right here, as you can see, did lose a total of $2, $2 from open to close. So barely even a 0.25% lost, which is kind of nothing in cryptocurrency land, whether it be to the upside or the downside. So I would not count that positively nor negatively. Really should just be omitted to begin with. And so the real results would be more like 8 out of 13. Yeah, 8 out of 13. Would probably be more accurate. So, so somewhere around like low 60% in terms of like reality. But in terms of the months that did return positive gains, for January, the average return was 27%. Now you're going to notice, if you're very visual, that I did omit one of the results right here. The first one, because it was an outlier, it gained about 90%. So, if we were to include that, the average return would be somewhere around like 34, 35%, which kind of drags it up quite a fair bit. But even with that, even without that, I'd say that that's still pretty damn good. And just funnily enough, over the past, 3-4 months now, maybe even 5 months, we've been seeing the monthlies operate like almost to the T on all of the average returns, which it's not really supposed to work like that. Like there's going to be variance, right? It's an average at the end of the day. But funnily enough, for like the past 4 to 5 months, we have seen that. Now that has also come in conjunction with other setups that have been in the same direction or kind of, in alignment with those numbers. And in this particular case, we don't actually have that. Now, I should also say that for the losing months, did lose an average of 16.5%. So let's go on over here. Let's just kind of play around with the numbers. And if we go to our current December, which, we don't necessarily have to close for it just yet, but let's just say closes somewhere around here. What would like 27% to the upside look like? That'd put Bitcoin at around $55,000. Kind of a lot. Seems like a lot. I want to say that I have nothing else aligned with that region as of right now. So I'd say that that's probably unlikely. And to the downside, it would put Bitcoin, again, assuming that we close somewhere right around here at about 43, that put Bitcoin around like $36,000, which, the 618 fib is kind of around that region, a little bit higher at 37.4, 37.5 region. So ultimately, what is that? What does that tell me when nothing else is aligning with it as of right now, neither to the upside nor the downside? It tells me that Bitcoin's probably going to range in January. Now, again, I want to reiterate my overall stance that I do believe that Bitcoin will be having a pretty decent pullback, somewhere between like 25 to 40% in Q1 of 2024. This kind of tells me that January is unlikely to be the month where we really see like the big move. That would really happen from. So what January is probably gonna be somewhat boring, kind of boring, depending upon your disposition, obviously. I mean, if you're used to trading traditional markets, then this is like insane. But anyways, I also went through and I did a lot of other studies actually on January, because I was looking for something like, is there any rhyme or reason with this month? And honestly, I'll just kind of put you forth, or I'll just say it right off the bat, I didn't really find anything. I did a study on what did January look like in halving years. 2 out of 3 Januaries did post positive, but it's just not enough history there to be going over. I looked at January after there was a green December. 4 out of 7 of the Januaries did close positively, just not that interesting. I even did January monthly after just a general green Q4, and same thing, actually 4 out of 7 did post positively. And the returns for those green Januaries after that was 40%, which is a lot. I mean, I guess we can play around with that number as well. That put Bitcoin basically around prior all-time highs, which funnily enough is the only other thing that I actually do have some point towards, just because that is the prior all-time high, just by the nature of it, at just over $60,000. But again, I think that that's quite unlikely, just personal opinion. Anyways, moving on now, because it is Thursday, we should look at the daily statistics for Thursday. And as we can see, Thursday still is the most likely day to close negatively from open to closure, with 35.5% of all Thursdays closing negatively throughout Bitcoin's history, for an average loss of just under 1.68%. In the times that it did close positively, the average return was about 2.5%. But here's the thing, from today's open to where Bitcoin has already gotten down to, we've already seen about 1.5% to the downside. So what does that tell me? It tells me that Bitcoin's probably already played out the downside for today, if you were looking at such things. If you go over here to the daily HPDR bands, I believe I made a Twitter post on this yesterday. In fact, I did make a Twitter post on this yesterday, and I would be saying that, still Bitcoin does seem like it is setting up for another higher low right here. At least that is what we have the sort of metrics for as of right now. First things first, we did see that test down over Tuesday and Wednesday to the bottom side of the blue 50% of historic returns range lows, alongside contracting, very heavily contracted levels of HPDRV volatility over here. So that is the makings of a, in this case, a higher low. And it also does start to change around the prior analysis, in the sense that no longer would I have to wait for Bitcoin to close below the Monday 18th of December's low, which was 40,500, in order to call this a reversal and Bitcoin comes down, well below $40,000. But now I'd move it over to Tuesday's low, which is about 41,600. So any sort of a closure below there, yeah, I'd be looking for Bitcoin to open up the year on a pretty nasty pullback. At least down to $39,000, probably a bounce there. And at that point, I probably would be looking for Bitcoin to come down somewhere closer to 37 over time. But for right now, still doing what you would expect if it is going to try for a higher low. But what would confirm this as a higher low? Well, we need to see preferably a closure back above Tuesday's high, or if you want to be more conservative, then I'd just be looking for a closure above the median here, which is currently 44,350 and change. I do suspect that will probably come down after today's closure, probably closer to the high of Tuesday, which is 43,600 or so. So if you do start to see a closure above there, it's probably going to be good enough. And at that point, I would be looking for Bitcoin to mount that next rally early 2024 towards 47,000 bucks. Might even get a little bit higher than that. And then we come back to it after that, really. But yeah, that's just a long way of saying that still, Bitcoin probably poised, probabilistically speaking, more poised towards a continuation of this rally than not. But the invalidation for that, invalidation of, some pretty nice downside would be, again, below Tuesday's low. That's the big one. So I think that is probably going to do it for today's video. A little bit on the short and sweet side, I guess. We already know that Dixie is absolutely crumbled. Maybe we'll do a video on this tomorrow or something. We've seen a move from coast to coast already, which we were looking at all the way back from October and November. Don't really have anything to update on that. Just I think this one is going to go a little bit lower before an attempt for a bounce, a little bit closer to $100 even, and then probably an attempt for a bounce somewhere right around there. And then we'll come back to it after that. Does it benefit Bitcoin? They haven't really been trading opposite each other for a while now. That's actually more to do with traditional markets, which are fucking flying towards new all-time highs for both NASDAQ and SPY right here. NASDAQ making new all-time highs again into the end of the year, and same with SPY as well. Again, these moves probably do get more continuation into 2024. In fact, I strongly believe that you're going to see continuation in 2024, but 2024 probably opens up on a pullback maybe after like the first week or two. Anyways, that's a good place for me to be leaving off. A long way of saying January over here, slightly weighted towards the BULAs, but realistically, I think that this January is going to be kind of uneventful. Today is probably also going to be uneventful Thursday, but uneventful is actually kind of better for the BULAs here. And then if you can see Bitcoin back above Tuesday's high, that would start to be pretty good on a closing basis for still continuation. Again, not today, but maybe in early 2024. And I think that is where I'll leave things off. As always, want to wish you the best. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully tomorrow.